our speakers. Oh, thank you for that. We have about 4 speakers that are with us, and I'm just going to pass it to them. We have Umba, we have Hexine, we have Hanif, and we also have Maggie. And I'll just pass it to them so that they introduce themselves, and then we can begin. So maybe I'll start with Umba, and then you can pass it on to the other speakers as well.
Thank you, Mlezi. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yes, we can
hear you, Umba.
All right, what am I saying in the introduction? Just my name and which fellowship year I was in?
Yeah, you say your name, the fellowship year you are in, what your current role is right now. Yeah, sure.
All right, great. So as you have heard, my name is Umba Zalira. I was a 2014-2015 GHC fellow. I was placed with the Ministry of Health under the Reproductive Health Directorate. Currently, I am working with Theatre for a Change as the Social Inclusion and Learning Manager, but I'm also part of the leadership team, which leads the Theatre for a Change Malawi Country Office. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Good to have you this evening or afternoon, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Margaret Jauluga. I'm a current fellow working with LifeNet International as a monitoring and evaluation associate.
Hello, everyone. So my name is Hanif Muntal. I was a GHC fellow 2020 to 2021. I was working with Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. I'm now working with Management Sciences for Healthy as a monitoring, evaluation, and planning specialist. Good to have you today.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm assuming all of us are from Malawi. I will not say good morning. Can you all hear me? I hope I'm unmuted.
Sure, we can hear you.
Great. So I'm Hexin Katengeza. I was placed for my fellowship here. I was placed with Mothers to Mothers, where I was working as a project coordinator. And that was in 2012, 2013. Following that, I joined Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation, where I served for 5 years, following that fellowship, that is. And then now I'm currently working with USID as the local capacity development specialist. I'm glad to be on this call and hoping to encourage and motivate some of you to apply and join GHC. Thank you, and over.
Thank you so very much, our speakers. And we open the floor, and our speakers will introduce what GHC is. I know Simon mentioned about what GHC does, and we all know that you guys would want to know more what GHC is all about, and you will learn more from our speakers. So from now, we'll have our speakers take the floor before you guys come in. So maybe just in a nutshell of what to expect in this webinar is that the speakers will explain what GHC is all about. They'll give maybe an introduction of how GHC started and how GHC does its programs. And then later on, we'll open the floor for questions. So we'll have a couple of rounds, depending on the time that we have, where you guys will have the opportunity to engage our speakers by asking questions. So now I hand it over down to our speakers to begin. Thank you so much. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Mlezi. I think I'm going first. I'm going to talk about why you should join GHC, why you should apply for GHC, and how different and unique GHC is apart from all the other fellowships that are out there. So the first thing that I love about GHC is the leadership program. So I know there are a lot of fellowships out there where they'll place you in different organizations, but for GHC, there are so many compartments or components to it, and one of it is leadership. So throughout your fellowship and even before when you go for the induction training, there's consistent messaging around leadership, consistent capacity building around leadership, because we want you to see yourself as more than just a young person working in a certain organization or being placed somewhere. We want you to see yourself as a leader. So there are modules, there are speakers, there are different resources that are available to you to build your leadership. Even public speaking, there are courses or sessions where you are taught how to do public speaking, how to do a pitch, and all those other things. Secondly, I would point out core fellowship. GHC is one, if not only, I don't want to be dragged, one, if not only, fellowships that have a co-fellowship model. So a co-fellowship model is that wherever you're going to be placed, you're going to be with someone else. And most of the times you're placed with someone else that is not from within your country. This is great because first of all, you're with someone where you can bounce off ideas off, someone you can share your experiences, your anxieties, your stresses, someone that you're experiencing the fellowship with throughout the year. The other thing is professional development. As I said, that there is a big component about leadership, but we're also interested to see you grow in other things or other areas that might not necessarily be attached to the fellowship. So there are funds that are provided for each fellow once you get into the fellowship, where you can use for anything. For example, for my capacity development or professional development funds, I used it to join the Toastmasters club. I would say it's a club. So it's a club where you join, where you learn how to do public speaking, you get resources, you have people there, but it's also a great networking space. And the other thing is that, as I say, that I was placed with the Ministry of Health. Ordinarily, that's not a space I would have ever thought myself to find myself in. So we all know how hectic the process of applying for a job to get into a government, not just government, but get into the Ministry of Health under a department which I am passionate about the issues that they are working on. So again, GHC would place you in places or spaces or organizations where you would not ordinarily find yourself, where it's hard to get into those spaces. I'm sure some of the fellows or alums here can agree with that as well. And lastly, I just want to point out, again, the continued capacity development and professional development that is accorded to you even after the fellowship. I said as I was a fellow 2014, 2015, so it's been 6 years, but still within those 6 years, I've been reached out to, not even in a very intentional way, where the team is aware of the things that I'm doing right now. The team is aware of my interest right now. So they'll find things, they'll find trainings, they'll find spaces, platforms, or conferences that they know I might be interested in, or pitch me as a speaker. So there's continued professional development even after the fellowship ends. I've been part of different spaces. I've been part of a training by McKinsey. I'm sure some of you know about McKinsey. It's a very well-known, very established organization, and it's not easy to get into a training by McKinsey. But because I was a GHC fellow, I was accorded that opportunity. So there's continued professional growth, there's continued intentionality and interest to see the GHC fellows develop during and even after the fellowship. So that's why you should apply for GHC. Thank you.
Thank you, Umba. That was really great. And if I could go next, I hope that's okay, Mlaizi, is it?
Yeah, sure, Hexen. You can go ahead.
Hexen, before you start, I just want to ask everyone if you have some, as we are continuing with this, if you have some questions, you can always just drop them in the chat. That way we can see which questions to ask after each speaker has spoken. So some might be shy to talk, so you can have the chat where you ask your questions, and then we'll ask specific speakers. Thank you, Hexen. You can take it from here.
And guys, don't be shy. Otherwise, we'll be shy too. So, so like Umba said, I think I just wanted to add to what Umba said, but also give a bit of a background, if I may. So I think it's important to know or to kind of go a little deeper into what GHC is all about, or what it is really. So as we may all be aware by now that GHC stands for Global Health Corps. So basically, this is to kind of sum it up, we would just say it's a movement for global health equity. The movement generally tries to mobilize us as young people, you guys now, because some of us are not as young as you guys may be, but it tries to mobilize young people and to build a movement for social justice. So there, as you may be aware as well, there are a lot of social injustices out there. Among them is the issue of access to healthcare and the like. And so the guys who designed this program, they aimed to mobilize young people, knowing that we have a huge stake, a huge role to play to, improving health for all. They kind of designed the whole thing around promoting the idea that health is as a human right. And so we want to work with a number of high impact organizations where when you are placed, you get to contribute to improving access, or rather improving health equity and reducing health inequalities. So in this fellowship, we get to be placed in a number of very different, sometimes very different organizations, and in many different roles, depending on your skill set, depending on your background. So for example, I'm a nurse midwife by training. I was trained as a nurse midwife from Kamuzu College of Nursing. I applied to be a fellow after some 4 years working in the civil service. Somebody introduced me to the GHC fellowship, just like you guys are being introduced to it now. I was so excited because personally, I felt I needed to, I felt there was more that I could do to reducing the huge inequalities in health that they are there. You see, I was mainly, constantly challenged by the sight of poor people having to dig deeper in their pockets, having to walk very long distances, having to do everything to the extreme compared to those who are well off, just so they have access to healthcare. And when I learned about what GHC does, I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. Fortunately, like you guys are now, I had the privilege to interact with some alumni who taught me more about it. And fortunately, there were openings at that time that I felt strongly that I qualified. So there was this project coordinator role that I applied, and the process, it was pretty intensive, but very insightful, to very, helpful as you go through the process. It is very open. You can reach out to anyone to help you to apply. And, I got to get into the fellowship. And like Umba said, the most exciting thing for me that kind of, helped me to settle in real quickly was the co-fellow model. So I got to get into this role of a project coordinator at Mothers to Mothers with somebody I was familiar with. So you are, as Malawians, your co-fellow is always or generally an American fellow. So she has, or your fellow could be a guy or a lady. They probably may have different background than you. So already you get to learn from your co-fellow. You get to assure each other of, how you could approach things, and you're not alone when you're going to join a new organization altogether. So, and when you're struggling, if that should be, you have somebody you could talk to, and maybe they could give you some insight on how you could better approach an issue. And the other thing is, once you get in, everyone, including your placement organization, is set on helping you succeed. And if you don't really succeed, it's usually because you have a huge role in that. I'm not saying there aren't challenges with some organizations, because we've heard that some other organizations, some fellows have encountered some challenges with some of their placement organizations, but largely you are heavily supported to succeed, and chances of being retained as a full-time employee, whether you're contracted or whatever, are also high, especially if you perform really well, if you utilize all the resources that are at your disposal once you become a fellow. So without having to go into too much detail, just going all over the place, I will leave it at that. And should you have any questions, any random questions relating to what I've said or what Umba so far has said and what other colleagues will say here, then shoot. Otherwise, thank you so much once again. Over.
All right.
All right. Hanif, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. So yeah, I think a lot has been said. I believe by now we understand what is GHC fellowship, and some of the benefits Umba and Hexen have already highlighted. And those two, they have shared an experience of having a co-fellow who is an American. Let me also share my experience, which is very similar to Maggie's experience, where due to the COVID, we have been having the co-fellows who are Malawians. So because of the travel bans and everything, we were having last year and this year, probably it's going to be better next year, 2020, and which is the fellow that you'll be applying. It's going to be better having bringing back the culture. But at the moment, we have been having the co-fellows who are Malawians and paired to another person who is based in Uganda, Zambia, or Rwanda, who is also on the same program. So let me add a few to what my two colleagues have already highlighted. So the questions that we might have, a lot of us now, is how do I apply? Where should I start from? Those that should be the main questions now bubbling in our heads. So before you start, let me explain this, that the whole application of GHC's fellowship is on their portal, on their website. So you do it online application. And for you to do that, first of all, you need to understand what is GHC, which it has already been highlighted here. And the second part, you need to review the requirements. So GHC needs you to have at least a degree, because there are two things that you need to understand. There is GHC program where the GHC attaches you to a healthy organization. You don't need to have a healthy background in your studies. For example, myself, I'm trained an economist by professional. I don't have any qualification in public health or any health related whatsoever field. So you just need to go through the requirements and understand. There is a requirement for age. You should be aged between 20 to 30. So if you are over 30, then that's sorry for that. But yeah, if you're within that, then that's a good for you. The other part is the application review. I remember even last year, we also engaged some who were applying. The disadvantage, or maybe the other issue they were having, is they just go straight on the portal. Once they sign in, they start writing on the same day. And after 10 minutes, they'll be like, I've already sent my application. No, you don't need to do that. The best way is get those questions on Microsoft Word or maybe in your writing pad and work on them properly. Take your time, understand the questions, the essay questions, about all of them. go through them, understand them, and write. Take your time, but you shouldn't delay up to the closing date. There are also fellowship roles. All of us who have been talking about working with such organization and such organization. When you're applying for GHC, you'll be attached to a healthy organization. Those healthy organizations do advertise the roles that they want the fellows to be attached to. Make sure that you are fit. So you go, just as the way we apply for a job, you go through the requirements, understand what they're looking for, the qualifications, the experience, and the skills they need. It's more like a job. So make sure that you have understood them, and in your application, you need to stress that. The fifth part is about your CV. Make sure that you have a very strong CV, which is 2 pages. So in that CV, you need to be very realistic. You know, people have been recruiting fellows for so long, they're well experienced, they know when you're lying. So make sure that it's strong. At the same time, you need to be very realistic. The other tip that I can share with you is to also have a reference letter. Make sure that your previous your previous professor, or maybe your previous employer, or your previous supervisor is able also to write a strong reference letter for you. So engage them on time. It's a very simple one. You just need to highlight the skills you have, and if you can fit with the GHC culture and values. Then the other part is, I think it's very good. The last tip is to have a friend probably who can proofread what you have written. The person might be a GHC fellow or somebody else, so the person can try to understand the grammatical errors and other issues maybe that you missed during your application. I think I've highlighted enough for now. I'll hand over to Mark. Thank you.
All right, guys. So picking up from where Hanif has left off, it's really important to have a good reference. Some of us, maybe we've been out of school for long, or maybe we haven't had a job for a while. So it would be really important to get that rolling. Find someone you trust, someone who understands what you are trying to do, and who can commit to giving that reference in time. But also, just to add, where do you get the information from? We've heard of the application process. You are going to go through applications, writing essays. Where do you get the information from? So from the GHC website, you will find that there's a lot of resources that will help you through the process, from the questions that are there, from the processes. You find all the information: who is eligible to be a fellow, who is, what qualifications you need, and how you can go through the process. But you also have an opportunity to have current fellows, alums who can help you out. There's information on, there's a possibility of asking for questions, and you get so much information that is available to you for the application. So it's not a scary process. There's so much help out there that you can utilize as you prepare for your fellowship application. But also during the application, as you apply for the roles, you will go through a series of interviews. As Hanif said, they're similar to what you do as you apply for a job. So prepare well in your essays, but also for interviews. They might be virtual, they might be in person, but you need to prepare for that. Understand what you wrote, because you don't want to write one thing and then present another thing as you are being interviewed. Be consistent, understand the roles that you applied for, and know what those organizations are all about, what they're looking for. If you're not sure, go to their website, read about what they're doing. How does that relate to being a fellow? So you go through a GHC interview, if you are successful in the application process, and then you go through interviews with the placement organizations that you eventually work for. So the applications open tomorrow. I hope you're all ready. As Hanif said, first have time to understand what the fellowship is about, what your interests are, align them to the roles that are going to be there. There are various roles that are presented, from monitoring and evaluation, as I'm doing now, to IT, advocacy, communication. So there's a lot. You just need to align your interests, your skills to what the roles are all about. On the eligibility, you do need to have a bachelor's degree. It can be from anywhere, but you do need to have a bachelor's degree. You also need to be proficient in your English, because as I've said, you go through interviews and you have to write essays. So that requires some level of English. And you do not need to have an English test for you to be eligible. You just have to be able to articulate yourself. You have to be able to write proficiently and present your ideas very well. I think another thing, as going through the process of application, sometimes we leave things out to the end. So you have almost a 1 month window for applications. Please make time. As Hanif has said, find time, write and review it, or find someone else to review it, so that you have essays that are competitive. The fellowship is highly competitive. There are lots of people that are applying. And this year might be different from ours. You might have other fellows from other countries also competing for the same. So you really need to have your game tight. Your essays have to be on point. You have to check them, proofread, and just make time to be confident with yourself as you get to apply. I think that should be all from me. If there are any questions, we'll be here to answer them.
All right, thank you very much. So guys, those are all the people that were supposed to talk today. So far we've had a couple of questions that have been asked. So I would direct them to, I think I can start with Hexine. I think you can take some of these questions. I'll give you 5 questions so you can answer, so that everybody is able to hear you out. The first question is, what are the qualifications required for one to be considered? Is there any age limit? The second is, are there any skills one must possess before they apply for the fellowship program? 3, do you need to have a college degree? And 4, does one need to have a background in health to apply? I know some of these were also mentioned, but I think you can just highlight on those questions. So Hexine, I'll direct it to you. I'll direct those questions to you.
Thank you. Those are great questions, and yes, you're right. Hanif had mentioned some of these when he was making his remarks. And so, for the first question, qualifications. Well, the first qualification that I should mention, I guess, is the requirement for you to have at least a degree, an undergrad degree. So you could have a master's. But the thing is, you have to be a college graduate or a recent. You could be graduating really soon. I remember during my time, there were some who applied way before they even graduated, because they knew by the time the fellowship year starts, if they were successful, they would have completed their studies. So you need to have at least a college degree. And like Hanif had mentioned, you have to be under the age of 30 for you to qualify. By the time you apply or the fellowship starts, you have to be under 30. And obviously, an adult, you shouldn't be a kid. So they, these days you could have someone who is under 18, and I suppose there could be issues. I don't know the restrictions as far as that is concerned. Apologies, my kid is all over me right now, but just a second.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Hexine.
Sorry, I'm back. Sorry.
Oh, all right.
And so you could have a degree in any degree. You could have a degree in education. You could have a degree in health. Like I said, I'm a nurse. There were some who were medical doctors, engineers, IT fellows, accountants, economists like Hanif. You could have whatever background, as long as when you look at the openings on the openings that are there for the fellowship, which clearly indicate the preferred backgrounds, then when you look at those openings, you see if you qualify. Sometimes there could be people who are trained as maybe what do you call, maybe you have a degree in education or arts, humanities, or maybe in copy, but you could have certain other skills. And if you feel you are qualified, you can do the things that are indicated in the opening, you definitely can apply, because like I said, the major requirement is you have to have a degree and be under 30. And no, you do not have to have a background in health. You could be from any background. I think from the questions that you assigned to me, I have talked about, or in terms of the skills, I guess that's what I've just said, based on your background and the skills that you have acquired through your education, or if, for example, you did some work somewhere and you have acquired some skills that you feel can be applicable to the fellowship opening or the job opening, so to say, then definitely you qualify for that particular role. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Hexine. I'm going to read out the next questions, which I think, Hanif, you can take these ones. The first one is, how many roles or programs can one apply for at once? How many fellows get picked from Malawi per cohort? Of course, this one I feel like Nice would be a better position to answer. How long does the fellowship last, and when does it start? And also, can I apply if I'm not Malawian? How much experience is needed to apply? So Hanif, you can take it from there.
All right, thank you, Christina. So on the positions or the roles that you can apply, probably there are 3 roles that you can apply. It might be for the same organization or might be from different organization, but at least 3 roles that you can apply. Let me also give a tip on that. Once you apply for GHC, you need to go through the interviews with the GHC. Then after that, once you're successful to the semifinals or the finals, you go to do interviews with your replacement organization. So this is what happens. GHC assesses you as a leader. If you have characters of a leader, if you have potential to be a leader, if you are adaptable to be a leader. So it's all about doing to do with the values of the GHC fellowship. Then from there, once you're successful, when you're done with the GHC, then GHC handles over you to the replacement organization for the technical interview. For example, if I have applied, when I applied for Global Health Corps Fellowship, and to go with Baylor, there was MOH, which is Malawi Ministry of Health, there was Elizabeth Glaser Pediatric AIDS Foundation. I applied as a position of monitoring and evaluation. It means the organization now, the replacement organization, has to interview me as an M&E person. So whether they need to do the practical interviews, whether they do whatever interviews as a technical person now, apart from the leadership interview, you need also to pass this interview. Once you pass is when you are taken for that. So it goes through those 3 stages. Then on whether you're a Malawian or what, so at the moment, I think maybe Simon and Blaise might highlight, at the moment, there are 4 countries in Africa where you can apply, you are eligible to apply, but it should be within the country. Starting from 2020 up to the current fellowship, we have countries like Malawi, Zambia, Uganda, and Rwanda. So those who are in Malawi, it means you apply the position that are available in Malawi, similar to other countries. It's different from the previous cohorts where they were able to apply to go to USA, maybe to other African countries. But for now, it's just within those 4 countries. So make sure that you're a Malawian. If you're applying for Malawi, if you're in Uganda, apply for Uganda, Rwanda, and Zambia. It's the same thing. On the qualification, I think Hexen has already highlighted. It depends on the requirements of the position, the role. So make sure that you have gone through the role. Normally, once you're going through the roles, you see some positions have stars. They are starred. Those are the requirements that you need to emphasize on. So make sure that you have those skills. In terms of skills, there are 2 parts. I've already mentioned about being a leader to do with the GHC values, as well as being having those technical skills for that role. So make sure that you are fitting as a leader, as well as the technical person. I know some of us, we can be good leaders, but now we are told that, okay, you're a data analyst, hey, let's do some codes here, the SQL and stuff. We can't do it. So make sure that you are fitting on both sides. I think I've tackled all the questions, right?
Yes, you have. Thank you, honey.
Let me also add one thing. People think maybe in GHC we don't have fun. It's all about work. Let me tip you this. I know we are in COVID. Myself and Maggie, we haven't had an opportunity to go outside the country. For example, our previous cohorts, they used to go to USA for leadership training. Some went to Rwanda for some leadership training. For us, we've been having the online training. But I'm telling you, once a GHC fellow, always a fellow. So we meet up with other fellows who maybe they graduated a long time back. We have different events. Recently, just a few days ago, we had a dinner which was hosted in Zomba. It means those who are in South Eastern Zone, we met in Zomba. Those who are in Blantyre, they met in Blantyre. Those who are in Lilongwe, they were in Lilongwe. It was all supported by the GHC. So even when you are a fellow, you also have these retreats. Sometimes should be inside the country or outside the country. Everything is sponsored and paid by GHC. So you have also money for some professional development. So maybe you need to do some short courses. You are given about $650 for the whole year. So the whole program is for the whole year. I mean, it's for 13 months. 1 month for the training and the 12 months where you now work with the placement organization. What else? After that, once you finish your fellowship, you're also given $1,000-something that you can spend the way you want as a leader. You know what to do with your professional leadership and your career growth. So guys, it's a lot of fun. There's more funding, there's more support. You have all the resources. You get to interact with the big guys like the Hexen. You know, those guys are working with you. You get connected. You are part of the family where you're part and the parcel of the very big family and the strong network with a lot of people where you're able to get much support continuous. I hope those answers the question. Thank you. Back to you, Christian.
Thank
Sorry,
you
Christina,
so much,
just a bit.
All right, no problem.
I know, yeah, something about the leadership aspect. So just to emphasize that GHC, one of the philosophies of GHC is to build us as young people to grow into leaders, you know, in this area, in all the areas that you may work in. You may not have very strong characters of the leader. We all have some leadership qualities somewhere, and they get to be honed during this fellowship because of the trainings, because of the networkings, and many other aspects of the fellowship that help you to grow as you are interacting with your fellows and other professionals who are not fellows. So you get to grow to become leaders. So we don't want to put it that you have to be full-fledged, qualified to be or to for a particular position, but rather you have to be confident enough to know that you can do the stuff that you are applying to do. So we want to encourage you to give it a shot. Read about GHC on the website, because there are a lot of answers that you can pick from the website when you are writing your essays, your application essays. There are a lot of answers. In fact, all of the answers are there in terms of what the values and stuff of GHC are. And then also look at the qualification, rather the required skills, and see where you can place yourself. Also, reach out to your friends who have been fellows, including us. We'll give you a lot of guidance and support so that you can go through your application, at least the GHC application, so that they can recommend you or throw you to the placement organization where you get to compete with others. I just wanted to add to those. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we have other questions. Before I continue with the questions, I just wanted to just tell you firstly, like our mission, vision, and values. We're united by the belief that health is a human right. We're relentless in the pursuit of our mission and vision, and dedicated to living out our values in this way. Our mission is to mobilize diverse community of leaders to build the movement of global health equity. Our vision is we envision a world where every person lives in a healthy, dignified life. Values, we believe that investing in leadership will bring real and sustainable progress in the advancement of health equity. So what does it mean when we say investing in leadership? This is where we're coming now with the fellowship program. So basically the fellowship program is investing in leadership, so that this way you get into the system of health strengthening. So with whatever skills that you have, you take the skills that you have to help in helping into the health system, like what can be improved. So I think there was a couple of questions asking about what encompasses health in GHC context. So from there, I'll just give it to Umba so she can continue and answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think this was also alluded to by the other speakers when they were talking about the different positions that are available. So for GHC, we look at health as a holistic thing. There's so many things that go into health, apart from having doctors at a health facility, having medicine. There are a lot of things that goes into health or provision of health for everyone. So health is everything. It's logistics. It's how how's medicine moving from one place to the facilities, or from one place to the other. What is, sorry, is someone speaking? Oh, I don't know. Can someone mute her?
We are good. Go ahead.
All right, great, thank you. So it's about looking into logistics. It's about looking into communication. How is communication being handled at a health facility, at a ministry level, at national level? I think this was a big thing when COVID just hit, where there was a lot of fake news going around, and communication was a big thing, it being a new pandemic and a new disease. So we also look into those aspects. I think they also talked about architecture. So we do have a partner placement organization called Mass Designs. So again, there are different things that go into building a hospital. It's not just a building or a structure. There are things that need to be considered, and you need architectures that are good at what they do to build such structures. So we look at health as a holistic thing. Everything else that a person needs to get well, whether it's the messaging, communication, logistics, having people there, managing the people, managing the programs, and everything else. The other question was on, sorry, what was it?
On people willing, are you willing to mentor or guide us through the application process?
Yes, yes, we are. I know I've done this before for the other cohorts. So we're not going to tell you what to write. We're going to guide you through the process. Sikuzirai, sikunena kuti apa munakalemba chonchi, but I think also Hanif said that don't lie, because the people that are going to read your applications know what the situation or know what is realistic in Malawi. So don't go about saying, oh, I started an organization where I helped 100 or 100,000 blind people. If anything of that sort has happened in Malawi, we're bound to know. So don't lie. Yes, there is guidance that can be provided, but it's not telling you what you must do, but just guiding you with the application process. I think that's correct, right, Mlezi? We do provide that.
Yes, we do. Thanks, Umba.
All right, great. Yeah, so I don't know how we can go about this then, Mlezi, about how do they get to access that, fellows or alums that can guide them? Is it that we provide our contacts, or do they go through you and then you allocate people? I don't know how that goes.
Okay, thanks, Umba, for that question. That's a good question. So as it is right now, if people want to get your contacts, they can actually reach out to you maybe now, or maybe sometime later on to say, okay, can I reach out to Umba and help me on this one? And the other thing, we have like a lot of alarms, and I know Malawi is very small. We are all connected one way or the other. And you can just check some of the alarms, maybe on LinkedIn, maybe on Facebook. And then at your own time, you can always just maybe drop them an email, maybe or a text, or anything that you want to learn from them. So you should be able to identify one alarm, or maybe a fellow, a current fellow right now who can help you. They'll always be happy because they understand, because it's also their passion, and they would want the movement to keep growing. And because they want the movement to keep growing and the community grow as well. So they would also want to embrace people that are trying to join the movement. So they'll be very readily available for you guys. So you can reach out to Umba, you can reach out to Hexine. I see a couple of alarms here as well. You can check them on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and just drop them a message or a text, whatever way you can you can do just to get in touch with maybe an alarm or a fellow. Yeah, sure.
Actually, already shared my WhatsApp line with one of the guys here who asked to, so some of us are okay with that. Just make sure that you is strictly professional, and that otherwise we don't want to be overwhelmed by yeah. So personally, I don't mind sharing my details, email or WhatsApp line, and when you apply, if you need guidance, then maybe we can drop those details before we close the session. Thank you.
Christina, maybe before you come in, I've seen a number of somehow administrative questions. I just want to respond to those questions. So I think there was a question around how many positions in Malawi. So basically, this year, we are expecting 14 positions in Malawi. And I want to emphasize that we are recruiting Malawians only. I've seen some folks from other parts of the world. If you're in Zambia, apply for position in Zambia. There have been a lot of changes that are happening within GHC regarding which area, which region do you want to build our networks. So we want to focus on African region. So from next year, which is 2023 actually, we'll have Malawians and anyone within Sub-Saharan Africa. So local fellows will be Malawians, international will be anyone from Zambia, Rwanda, Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, and other parts of Africa. So I wanted to make those clarifications. Thank you very much. Back to you, Christine.
All right, thank you very much, Simon. This question will also be directed to you, Simon, because it's kind of more strategic. They ask, how involved are the organizations that you work with in the selection process? Because what GHC looks for could not be the same as what the organizations could look for in an applicant. So over to you, Simon.
Yes, quite a brilliant question. Appreciate for that. So basically, the whole process of having fellows, we work hand in hand with our partners. These are placement organizations. What does it mean? So right from the way go, in the first place, we need to identify gaps in those organizations. So they are the ones who are appealing to us that we have gaps, we need people. And then we start to engage in the process of drafting the position description. So they are the ones who are requesting. So they put whatever skills, requirement they want to have. And then we have our own requirements to be like, yeah, this is too much. And we work out and have a position description. And then I think Hanif, if not Wumba mentioned, the series of interviews that you undergo with GHC, where GHC looks at what we call GHC fit, to fit the values, the inspiration, the leadership potential that we want to see within GHC. So that's what we'll be doing. But again, I want to say this, we also look somehow in some of the skills at GHC level. And once we are done, the very last launch, you will sit with the organization where they'll have their own assessments. So it means they have the freedom whether to give you a test, whether to whatever means of assessment they have, they will have to do with you. So that's how much we engage. They are fully involved in the process. They are aware, even the recruitment, even the advertisement, they are part of the process. Thank you. Back to Christine.
All right, thank you so much, Simon. There's another question here. I think maybe Umba, you can take it, or Hanif. It's, do different fellows collaborate on projects together?
Hanif, you can start.
Okay, all right. The answer to that is yes. So different fellows, you can collaborate together within the country. As I mentioned from my experience and the current experience with the GHC fellows, you might have your co-fellow, the one that you're working together at the same organization. You can work together because you're also challenged. You are given this, we call it stretch project. So within the period of 12 months, you need to do something. There's one thing that you need to do as a country cohort. So for example, the 2022, 2023, I don't know how many you're going to be, maybe 10 or more than that. You need to do something as a team of Malawi. So similarly to the ones in other countries, they also need to do the same. At the same time, you as an individual, you need also to work out on something. So you need to give back to your community. It might be healthy or something related to something in your professional or whatever your passion is, but you need to give back to the community. So in all those issues, you can work together with the fellows in your own country or outside. There are also other opportunities, for example, the funding programs where they require fellows to unite and work up together on a proposal and, you get some funding. So there are so many areas of collaborations and networking that you can work together. Back to you, Umba.
Yeah, I think you've covered it all. So it's the same thing. As fellows, they'll have a national project. Even as alums, there's funding to do a project or to respond to an issue that's happening or pertinent in your country. So there are always chances or opportunities to work together as fellows and alums.
Just to add on that, as Umba mentioned, you have co-fellows, that you work with throughout your fellowship. So, for example, in my case, my co-fellow is a communications fellow, but you're required to work together on different projects. I mean, M&E and he's in communications, but we have to rely on what we each doing in order to, deliver on our project deliverables. So in as much as you have the big projects as cohorts, as co-fellows in an organization, you have chances to collaborate. Actually, you need each other in collaborating so that you're better able to deliver on whatever you're doing. You're helping each other hone your skills, but you're also there to help each other, in terms of critiquing, because you understand each other better than the rest of the team you're working with. So there's a high chance of collaborating with your co-fellow and doing projects together.
All right, thank you very much, Maggie, for that. That's been very insightful. As we head towards the end, I hope all your questions have been answered, but if not, you can check out the website, which is www.ghcore.org. So you have all the information there, and it's tomorrow that we're going to open these applications for the fellowship program. So I hope everybody's ready and excited. And as they said, please do take your time, understand what they're asking, so you have a better chance of actually getting in. I'll just ask all the speakers to just say last words, nothing too long, so that we can just close up the session. Thank you.
I'll go first, if you don't mind. So, guys, it was a pleasure sharing my experience with you guys. And I look forward to hearing from some of you for any guidance. And Osaopa, I'm sure Simanta or anything, maybe wakonzo kalaka anxiety kena kage kuzikayikira koma tieni nazo ndizatu zomwe izi ndifachi nyamata, we ought to take a lead, face challenges. So I wish you the best as you explore on the link my applications. Simon Walimpagari kuti JDs will be posted tomorrow, job descriptions. So look them up and then seek guidance when you can. Otherwise, wishing you the very best. Thank you, and over.
Thank you. Hi, guys. Thank you for being there. I think from me, what I would say is, first of all, don't just rush answering the questions. Please make sure that you have understood what is GHC and you have gone through the job description of all the positions. Do not rush and do not delay your submissions. I know it's opening in December and we have so many festivals going on. Make sure that you're not submitting your application very late. I'm wishing you all the best. I'm a very reachable person. I'm all over Facebook. So search my name, I'll be able to assist you. Thank you. Wishing you all the best. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for tuning in. For me, I'll say, go for it. Be ready to have fun, be ready to learn, and ask. Sometimes timakanika zinthu chifukwa cha mantha ukukanika ufunsa. Ask, the help is out there, it's available. Don't be afraid kufunsa. Ask, and all the best. Can't wait to see you on interviews soon. All the best to you.
Yeah, wishing you guys all the best. If you have applied before, I would urge you to apply again. I was never picked the first time that I applied for JC. I was picked the second time that I applied. So if you're applying for the second time or thinking, maybe this is not for me, try one more time. Yeah, you can reach me through my email. If I'm not responding fast, you can reach me on my Twitter. I'm very active there. Just search for Umba. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our speakers. And lastly, I'll just let Simon, Lizzie can go first. She says her last words, and Simon can go right after that. Then we can end this. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Christina. And thank you so much. And a big shout out to our speakers. If you guys can just quickly maybe share a reaction to our speakers right now, I would really I appreciate they've been so wonderful in answering all our questions, and I'm sure that everybody has been helped. So yeah, just like Simon said, and Christina also said that the applications are opening tomorrow. So keep an eye out. I'll post them in the newspaper, My Job, Careers Malawi, Facebook, LinkedIn. So you see that social media will be flooded with all these applications. And we've also engaged our TV stations, radio stations, NBC, Rainbow. So you actually see a lot that's going on, or what that we are doing, as we want you guys to apply for these applications. So yeah, thank you so much. And you guys have been so wonderful, and we really appreciate for showing up. I'll pass it on to Simon for the final remarks. Thank you.
Great. No, thank you, team. This is awesome. Just quick information. So we have benefits. You are not just coming here to wait to volunteer. This is not a volunteering work. This is a paid fellowship. So you guys, we are entitled to $650 of your stipend, which is tax-free. So this is take home. And then we make sure we support you with housing. This can come in terms in kind or in terms of a housing allowance. And again, we just support you with some utilities, a little bit for your water bills. So you're well covered. And then once you're done with the fellowship, 13 months, we want to support with your transition. So you go home with a completion award, which is $1,500. That's the end of fellowship. So you can imagine it's well packed and you're all well covered. Thank you, all the speakers, the facilitators, amazing job, congrats team. Guys, get on the website tomorrow, start your application, take your time. You have our community, we're prepared to support you. Anytime, reach out. And we encourage to reach out to these people, not to staff, because staff might not be able to help you. These guys, they have experience. So they are the best coaches for you throughout this process. Thank you very much. And we have enjoyed having you guys listening to your questions, responding to your questions and talking to you. We wish you well. Hope to see you for interviews. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Ndingaendera zanga ndisanamendinalibire tumapulani tango kumana ikadiike nandikusanda mapulani muno ndikumbali pekitiriawi ndikutsitsa mfundo manifesto koma ndikangolowa muboma lako sidzatula pansi otsutsapo samalembera matapeti koma ulendo uno akunana nazo ndilibe chipani ine independent ndiwe mayemadime.
Okay, guys, all the best. Thank you very much. Wish you well.